Hi, my name is Steve Bolden, and welcome to negotiation, and in particular, the impact of gender on negotiation. I want you to stay tuned to the end because what we're going to address is what happens in a negotiation when someone makes an unwanted advance. Like, really? Somebody in a negotiation makes a move and you don't want it going on, or they tell offensive jokes related to gender in a negotiation? We'll address that at the end. But I would like to start and tell you a little bit about myself. I spent 16 years as a deal lawyer, still a deal lawyer, love deals. I'm a deal junkie. I've done merger and acquisition deals, real estate deals, public offerings, private placements, bond deals representing investment banks, governmental issuers, representing entrepreneurs in their daily exercise of trying to grow their business. In that time span, I've had an opportunity to see some fabulous negotiators. I mean, some of the best. Also during that time span, I've seen some absolutely horrible negotiators. As a business owner, I've had the opportunity to be in the driver's seat in a negotiation. I know, how that feels. And as a lawyer, I've had the opportunity to advise and coach in the negotiation process. And as an adjunct professor over the past couple years related to negotiation, I've been able to study and to teach and to observe the negotiation process. And what I've learned in that time span is I've learned that negotiation permeates throughout all our daily living. Interactions with families, you negotiate sometimes if you have kids, hey, do I buy this toy? How do we negotiate all that and everything? Or you're going to purchase a car, you're dealing with a car salesman, you're negotiating that. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you're negotiating, for example, a branding, you're dealing with a branding company and they're trying to have a contract for you to sign. You may have to negotiate that contract. Negotiation is important. And over time, it can mean the difference between the survival of your business or the complete failure and destruction of it. For example, if a business owner doesn't understand the potential long-term repercussions of utilizing scorched earth negotiation tactics, it could find itself out of business in a very short time. On the other hand, if a business owner doesn't understand that the art of negotiation at all, doesn't understand the negotiation process, and over again shortchanges itself, well, that could impact the bottom line. So you understand what I'm talking about. So there are many facets to negotiation. There are endless topics that we could explore. But today, we're going to focus on gender and its role and impact on the negotiation process. In the law school classroom, I've witnessed that this topic is exciting. It garners a lot of attention. It creates lively discussion, and I would like that to happen today as well. And so if you have any comments or anything like that, please post those, and then we could probably do a follow-up on this as well, because this is a very, very expansive topic. And the reason why this is so controversial, if you will, is because it's very easy to slip into destructive stereotypes when you talk about gender. But I'll tell you this, there's been some research that has identified some, truths, if you will, related to gender that are worth discussing. And we'll just cover just one of those today because it's such an expansive topic. And here's the thing. Men and women differ in the way we communicate, generally speaking. Generally, men tend to be more assertive and more likely to interrupt their counterpart and more oriented towards affirming themselves and their status. Okay, this is an obvious generalization because I know women who do that as well. But there is a perception that, in fact, sometimes becomes reality that men likely might behave in this manner. It is thought, generally speaking, that women listen more than men do, and pay greater attention to emotional rapport. They allow you to take turns speaking. This is another generalization because I know some women who don't do that at all. And then I know some men who do that. But again, it's the perception, and that sometimes becomes reality, and that it's sometimes an expected behavior. And so let's back up for 1 second. Why are we talking about this again? If you've followed my other posts on Instagram, you will see that we talked about understanding your personal inclinations, what you're likely to do. And so you have to understand that. And you have to also understand what someone might perceive or think you might do. And they're looking for you to fit into some type of role. And so when we understand all these type of perceptions and what they might expect or not expect and everything, you can use this to your negotiation advantage. And I'll give you an example. I recently was in a classroom mock negotiation, and the person I was coaching knew the actual inclinations of another woman. So I was coaching a woman, her counterpart was a woman. And it's very important, if you do have actual knowledge of your counterpart's inclinations in a negotiation, that is very helpful. But in any event, my mentee or coachee or whatever told me that this person is extremely smart, type A, and very aggressive. Now let me tell you something. Without that personal knowledge in general, another person sees, sometimes what happens is another person sees a woman and they're not going to expect certain types of behavior. That's what some people think. And if someone would have walked into this negotiation, they would not have expected aggressive behavior and might have been taken aback. But because in this case, this person had actual knowledge of their actual inclinations, they weren't disheveled. They weren't confused by the behavior. And in fact, because they knew that and how they would probably react under certain circumstances, they were able to use that to their advantage. You know, what would you think if a 6'6" man walks to the negotiation table, big burly man, and sits down? You know, me personally, sometimes I might even be intimidated. But what if when he starts to speak, he's soft-spoken, gentle, kind? It would be disarming, probably. And it might create a situation, because you didn't know that that was their personal inclination or they could do that, you might lose at that negotiation table. Now, we could go on this topic and everything, but I want to address the question we received. And that question is, again, what happens when you go to a negotiation table? You're sitting down and all of a sudden your counterpart makes an unwanted advance. Again, really, like in a negotiation, they start coming on to you and everything. Or they start making jokes that are offensive. So, as a business owner, as a lawyer, as an entrepreneur as well, you always have to ask yourself, do I really need this business? And you also need to think about this. Anytime you sit down in a negotiation process and everything, you need to understand that a lot of times it's a relationship that you are entering into. And you need to ask yourself, do you want to enter into a relationship with someone who is exhibiting this type of behavior? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Likely you probably don't. There might be a rare circumstance or whatever. Maybe you can go in and change the organization if it's an acquisition or something like that. But in any event, I hope you don't ever have to experience anything like that. But, you know, really think that through. Well, thank you for joining me today. I would appreciate feedback. This is an expansive topic, and there are a lot of other areas to cover that are absolutely fascinating related to gender and negotiation. I hope you can join us next time, and thank you again for joining. I'm Steve Bolden. Thank you very much.